Okay. So to start with, hope you're with us, Madam Joy. Okay. So to start with, if you want to create a new project in NetBean, it's simply when your NetBean is open, you can simply click on the file and click on new projects. Okay. Now, when you click on new projects, you see different categories of projects that you can use NetBean for. But what we're interested in is Java. So even when we select Java, we see different types of projects that can be created with Java. Okay, but what we're interested in here is the Java, just Java application. Okay, so when you select Java application, you click on next. When you click on next, you have okay. You give it a name. I'm going to call this class one. Okay. Giving it class one. Class is a keyword in Java. So let's say tutorial one, for instance. I think that should be better. Okay. So here we can, if we want to change the directory where we want to save it to, but by default, it's going to tell you that is going to tell you that it's what you want to save it on your document in your system in NetBean folder. It will automatically create a folder called NetBean projects. So on that folder now, all the applications, all the projects you'll be creating in NetBean will be stored there. Like you can see, the project folder is tutorial one. That means it's going to create a folder tutorial one for you. Is there? Okay, I think my screen is at the minimum, a maximum rather. So what you do, just try pin it from your end. Okay, so you open, you click on, you leave this one like this. You click on create main class for it. Okay, but by default, I think it will be checked. And sometimes you have this set as main project as well. So anyone you set as main project will be the main project. That means whenever you click on the bug, that project will be the one running. Okay, so we can just leave it like this for now. No need to change anything else. Okay, except maybe they will get to a point where we will need to alter this. Okay, but for now, just leave everything the way it is. The only thing we'll have to change here is just the project name. Okay, so click on finish and that's just it. It will create a fresh Java project for you. Okay, now in Java projects, you see a lot of comments, okay, telling you about the some of the things that you're seeing on your screen right now. Mhm. So, but what I do most times, I remove the comment. Like here, you're saying to change this template, choose tools, blah 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 blah. Just some information about what you can do with the editor. Okay, and this is the author. That's just telling you about the author of the system. That's uh, my system name. Then tell you about just information actually when you talk about comments. Okay, so I'm going to remove all the comments. Yes, I can remove all the comments. Then if I want to put my own comment, I can. Okay, now of course, okay, because of Madam Joy, let me come again about comments. Comments are simply way of documenting your programs. Okay, just just writing some information on your program as you code in order for you to understand or remember some things about your source code. Let's say I want to do something on the source code now, I can make a comment like this is what I'm doing here, so that later when I'm looking at the code, I'll know that okay, this is what I did here. Okay. Then another thing again, if you are coding maybe in a collaborative environment where other programmers will have to look at your code. Comment can also direct them on what you did in that code. I don't know if you get what I'm trying to say. Yes, to comment, yes, in Python. Okay. So though the program will not use it for anything, but it's actually a very, very good practice in programming in general. Okay. Yes. Okay. So that is it. Now, this whole thing now is the basic structure of a Java program. Okay. Now, I'm not going to explain all this yet. Okay. But what I will just let you know for now is like a convention that any Java program you're writing, though depend on the environment you write, you might not see these packages, this package name. Okay, because if I'm using other IDs, there are other Java ID that I can use now. I might not see the package name. So this one is like optional, something with NetBean. NetBean is the one that do this most times. Okay, but the major Java program, this is where it starts from, public class. Okay, so any program, any project you start, make sure you must see public class and the project name. Okay, now this is the project name because there's one thing in Java, there's a rule that the name of your class must be the same thing with the name of the file .java. Okay, so if I change the name here now, it might give us issues. Okay, it might not give us issue within the source code, but whenever we're trying to run the program, you find out that sometimes you have issues with it. So the name of your class should be the same name with the file .java. Okay, so but thank God with NetBean, immediately you put the application name, it's going to just create a class using that name. Okay, so later I'll talk about this public and class where we'll start talking about object-oriented programming. Okay, so same thing applies to this, but you should know that we have a class. Now the class starts from the curly brace here. The curly brace denotes the start and ends here. Okay, then everything that we're doing will be inside the class. Okay, now this one is a method. This one is a method. Okay, now we often call this the main method because the name of the method, this is the name of the method called main. Okay, so the main method also is a block of code that starts from this semicolon, sorry, curly brace to this curly brace. Okay, so just take this as a convention for now. But later on, we're going to explain why the public, why the static, why the void, why the class, all these things. They have reasons why they are there. Okay, but you should know the only thing you know about them now is whenever you're doing object-oriented programming, definitely you see classes, you see methods. Okay. So that is just what you just need to know for now. Every other thing we've been doing will be inside this main method because the main method is where Java compiler and interpreter goes to, okay, when compiling and executing your codes. Are we good? Yes, I remove. Okay. Yes, in Java we have multiple line commenting, we have single line commenting. Okay. Uh, Unlike Python that just have single, though Python have a way of doing multiple line though, but here you can use double slash like this for a single line, as you can see. Okay, let me do them at the top of the class. Let's say this is single line commenting. While multiple line commenting, we use one back forward slash with asterisks. Okay, so you can see how it is. So these are multiple line commenting. Okay. You know the difference between the two. Multiple line can span across multiple lines, just as the name implies. While single line is just within that line. Okay. Making comment within that line. So this is how you comment in Java. So anywhere you want to do your comments, can depending on the kind of comment you want to do, you can either choose to use single line or multiple line. Yes. 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 For single line, you just put these two forward slash. That's all. Mm. But for multiple line, as long as the comment want to span across multiple line, you just use star asterisk. Then any amount of line I want. You see how it's going. Mhm. So that is it. So, well, you understood what I said here. Every code we're writing will be in between this starting of the main method. Mm? Mm. Yes, yes, yes. You usually see it like this. Okay, yeah, you see it like this. Okay, but at least you should know why it's like that, so that in case, let's assume they tell you to write it in paper, you should understand that, okay, if this is my file, if for instance I'm calling my file abc.java, that means my program will start with public class abc. You understand that part, right? You didn't get it. What I'm saying now, look at this. You see my cursor, right? The name of the file is tutorial1.java. That's the name of the file. So any name that the file is bearing will be the class name, the same thing with the class, tutorial1. You understand that part, right? Mhm. Then inside the class, you must have public, static, void, main. It's a must. That one is just like a convention. Okay. Then within the main, you have this bracket and you have string with these square brackets on inside it. Then these arguments is a convention as well. Okay. Though these arguments now can change. We can use something else for it. But you see this string here and everything here will not change. Yes. Because this is a main method. This main method is like the 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 entry point of the compiler or the interpreter. That's the entry point. So if there is no main in your program, the program will not run. You understand? There must be a main, even if we have other methods, because this main now is a method actually, and it depends on the level we get to. We can also write other methods that are not main, but any other method we are writing rely on the main or the main method, because the main method is the entry point. That is where the compiler enters into your program. So anything that is not referenced in there will not be attended to. Okay, and it's a convention that the main always receive strings arguments. You understand? So we are not going to change this in any way, change it to integer or whatsoever. Okay, so it's going to be like this at least for a period of time. If we are going to change this at all, that means we must have gotten into something very, very deep in the programs. You understand? Mhm. So at least for now, nothing is going to change this from string to any other data type. If we are writing other methods, we can actually change our method. Later, when you know what these things are used for, then you know if it will be changed or not. Okay, definitely you will know all those things later. Okay, so that is just it. Are we still together? Okay, so that is that. So now that we've seen this, now let's continue from where we stopped, because most of the things that I saw in that lab are still boils down to these things we're doing here. Okay. So last time we talked about variables and constants already. We talked about data type. Okay. Talked about data type. So now also we saw assignment the last time, right? I mean how to assign values into variables. Okay. For instance, so we declare a variable, let's say int a as an integer. Okay. So we can I told you that last time that we can either there are two ways we can store data into the variable. The first one is by assigning, which we already did, like a to 9 like this. You understand? So this simply means that we are assigning 9 into a. You understand? So it's going to store 9 into a. Okay, so that is it. Then the second way is by impute. That's what now brings us to the impute statement. Okay, that's the second way. You have to impute. Now, the impute statement, like I told you already, that whenever we talk about a statement is a line of code that is meant to do something, perform an action. Okay, and already we've seen this output statement that prints out message. We see variable declaration statement that creates memory. That's variables that will be used to store data. We've seen the assignment statement, which actually is assigning data into variables that are created. Okay, so now we're seeing the impute statement now. Okay, now the action the impute statement is meant to do is to receive data from the user through a certain channel. Okay, through a certain channel. Of course, why I said through a certain channel is because we have different mode of input. We have different ways of imputing data into the computer. You know, it's not just your keyboard that is an input device, right? Like we have your scanners that are also inputs. Okay, so, but the standard one we'll know from what we're going to be looking at is the keyboard, okay? Because most of the data we're going to impute, we'll be imputing them using the keyboard. Okay, now, okay, output statement. Last time we did system dot out, okay, dot print, okay, or print line. This is the output statement. Okay. Now I said one is when we talk about output statement is the action they are meant to perform is just to print out data, okay, for the user. Okay. We made some example the other day. I think the one we did in Python is still here. We did something like this: print total, added uh, 34a, just like this the other day. Okay, we assign 34 to A, assign 23 to B, assign 23 to C. I think I've closed the one in Java because we did it in Java first. Okay, so this is just assigning values into this. Then we did some calculations. Then we did an output here. This is an example of the output. This print total. Okay, so an output statement is just to print out the values or the data. Okay, in Java, instead of saying uh, just print, we'll have to say system.out.print or .print line, as the case may be. So like this now is simply an output statement to print out something. That's just it. There's no. no difficult thing about it. It's clear, right? Mhm. Yes, yes, yes. Assuming I said total, for instance, is equal to a plus 9, for instance. Okay. Let's assume the a has a value before now. Let's say the a has a value before now. Also, we also declare a variable. You know, in Java, like I told you last time, you must declare every variable before you use it. Okay. In Python, we don't really need to declare. So here now, I'm declaring a. I'm declaring all of them as integer. Okay. But for a, I assigned a value to a on the go. You understand? Immediately I declared a, I assigned a value 4 into it. And I said comma, and I declared total without assigning anything to it. So here on the total, I just added a plus 9. That means the value of a is going to bring, this place now is going to bring the value of a, which is 4. Then add 9 to it to give us the total. So on our print statement, that's the output, we can just output total like this. Okay. So when we run the program, it's going to give us the total, which is 13. We can see from here. It's good, right? It's clear, right? Can you hear me? Okay. So can we proceed? Yes. Okay. So now that we are clear with that, now let's assume. Okay, I think I will start with string. Okay. Mm, Let me start with string. I will tell you why I started with string first. Okay. So let's say, okay, I think let me leave, if I'm to give you this guy, let me leave this program here. I'll just comment them so that they will not be doing anything. But for readability's sake, maybe when you're looking at the code, maybe I might publish it on GitHub so that you also have access to it, all the tutorials we're going to be doing, so that you have access to it too. Okay. So I'll just comment this so that you won't be doing anything there. Okay. So now let's think of a program. Okay, let me just go to your lab and see if I can get one simple program. So program will first of all do. Okay, so I just need something simple. Okay, so this one, let's say as mentioned above, is that the code below demonstrates how you can achieve this. User input on different types. Okay. Okay. A use scanner here. I'm trying to first of all do the G option pane. Okay, this is session 2. This is session 3. Let me go to session 2. This is where they use the G option pane. Okay, the following program has several programming errors. Identify this. Let me go up. Adequate data type and values. Okay, most of all these ones are just assigning. They are assigning it, as you can see. They are just assigning int a value, int b int sum a plus b. At least looking at this code now, you understand what's going on here, right? This is from your lab too. Mhm. They're just on the go. When they declare the variable, they assign something. And declare the variable, they assign something. So the only thing that might be a little bit strange here is this attribute. Okay, the way they stacked the whole attribute, sum equals sum, multiplication equal multiplication. But I'm going to do something like that. Okay. Mm, which one? Yeah. Mm. They didn't ask anything. They're just showing. Here's an example, just an example. An example you can go over before completing the exercise. Okay, I think it's an exercise. Declare two integer variable called a and b. Of course, you can do that now, right? Int a, int b. Uh-huh. So the value to assign to a and b, 107 and 5 respectively. You understand? Decide what type of data type could be used to hold 107 and 5. Which type would be safer and most likely to use? These are just simple things. See, of course, you can do all these ones now. Calculate and display the value of a plus b, a minus b, a times b, the whole part of a divided by b, and the remainder part of a divided by b. Okay, the remainder part of a divided by b is the modular division. I'm going to talk about that. It's part of what we are going to discuss under operators. You want to ask the question again? Okay. Mm. A minus B. Hello, I don't understand. C. Mm. This is it now. This one now. Calculate A minus B. Okay. Okay, I think they made a mistake. They made a mistake. They omitted it. But it's, I think it's, okay, it's not here too. It's a mistake they made now. Mm. It's a mistake. It's a mistake they made. It's a mistake. Mm. They omitted it. Okay. 107 and 5. From what we're talking about variables, we'll talk about data type. We said short, int, bytes, and long all are integer. So you can use anyone for any. You can use int for it. Okay, the difference is just the sizes. Okay, but somewhere they can recommend that to avoid using too much memory. If you are sure that the numbers you're going to work with are very small numbers, you can use the short. Even if you're just working with some maybe 1 digit or 2 digit numbers, if you can even use byte. So it's not really like a convention. Yes, yes, that's what they did. They use short. You can use short, you can use int, you can use long. But long majorly is for large amount of integer numbers. Like even 400, if short can even accommodate 400, I guess. Even 50,000 self int will accommodate it. The only thing that int cannot accommodate is when you're counting into millions. Mm, that's when short will not come. So the difference is just their sizes. It's nothing serious. Yes, of course. Yes. Mm. Please let me see if I can. And if I plug this phone to my system now, my system will drain faster. But let me just plug it because it's almost done. Just give me a few seconds. Okay, so we can continue. Ah, okay. But like what we just did here now, what we are just explaining here, all these questions now, you don't understand them. This lab two, this two, yeah, okay. Since you are even with Nika, we will advise both of you put head together and try one or two things. Please, you learn faster that way. Okay, okay, no, 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 no. Okay, so I'll just checking. I even forgot what I just okay. I just came to find a simple program that we can use to illustrate. Okay, declare a variable called total day and assign a number to it, representing a period of time measured in days. Declare two integer variable called week and day and assign a value to them calculated from total day, representing the equivalent period in week and days. Okay. Display the results using the print line method. As we did in the previous exercise, we run the program several times with several values for total days to test that it's working. As expected, e.g., 25 days should display 25 days is equal to 3 weeks and 4 days. You understand that? Another thing again, let me just say this now. Sometimes, sometimes the whole thing is not really about knowing how to write a program. Another thing again that is kind of very, very important whenever you're dealing with programming is logic. You should be able to understand the problem you're trying to solve because that is going to help you a lot. Okay. So, like for instance, now this exercise here, now this one I just read, now this is what just brought my attention to it now. This thing is kind of a simple program to write, but If you don't understand what this whole thing is all about, you might find it difficult to even know what you're going to write in terms of the code. Okay, so these are some of the things you're going to face in your exam. Then, when they give you a question, you think of a proper logic for it. Okay, so maybe I'll solve this at the end of the day. Okay, but I'm just looking for something first. Okay, let me just go to declare and assign three integer. I'm just looking for something with I can do with string. Okay, let me think of something else. Then I'll come back to this integer. Yeah. Okay. Okay. I understand your point. I understand your point. It's very, very important. Okay. So don't worry, we'll go back to the lab. We'll solve some of the questions there. Okay. So let me just think of something else to do yet now. Okay. Let's assume we want to write a program that will take in the name of a person and greet the person good evening or good afternoon or good night. Okay. Okay, let's just say good evening. We want to greet the person, but we want the person to enter his or her name because we are dealing with input statements now. Okay, so for us to do a program like that, the first thing we, huh? You said, okay, okay, okay. Let's continue. I'm just trying to do something reasonable before my system go down. Assuming there's light here now. Yeah. Assuming there's light now, at least we'll have the liberty of time. So the first thing first, I'm going to declare a variable to store the name. Okay. What is data type that variable will use? Um, is there int? Uh, Okay. What about usual? What's data type that it's supposed to use? Uh, to store the name of a person. Yes. No. No. The yes, that is just that's like what she just said now. Okay. So what I the one thing is understanding what I actually ask. The question I ask is what's the data type that will be used to declare the variable that will hold the name of the person. Mhm. What about you, Nika? Okay. It's definitely a string. Okay. So we can say string, let's say user, or we can say string name. Okay. So that will hold the name is a variable now, variable name that will hold the user name. So we'll now ask the user to enter, yes, the semicolon, okay, denoting the ending of that line. Okay. So we'll now ask the person, what's your name? Okay. Now for us to ask that person what's your name, we'll have to print out, yeah, I give it an attribute that will ask him what his name is. Okay. So we can simply use system okay, dot out dot print, right? If you want to print out fields, right? Dot print, or we can say the print line, okay? I've showed you the difference between the two, right? Yes. So the output will tell the person what is your name, right? Okay. So when we tell the person, when we ask the person what is your name, okay, the person will expect the person to enter his or her name. Okay. Is that like this? Okay, no problem. Python. Okay, so now this is how it will be. Now, if I run this program, it will just ask me what's my name and program ends. So after this line, I'm supposed to accept my name here. Okay. In Python, you say name is equal to impute something, right? Uh-huh. Because like what I told you, we're going to be working Java and Python. Anything I do in Java, I'll do it in Python. Okay. So, but now for us to accept in Java, I told you that's the reason why I jumped it that last time, that it's a little bit more complicated than we think. In Python is actually easy. So in Java now, this is where we either need the scanner or the J option pane. So if I'm using the scanner, I'm free to do this. Then I'll use the scanner here to collect it. Okay. But I cannot use the scanner now when I have not done what they call instantiation. So that is the reason why I want to come to the J option pane first, because it's easier. Okay. Now, when we come to J option pane, we're going to call J option pane. But J option pane is a class that is not really Java thing, as a kind of it's not just it's not just in your code by default. Okay. There are what we call libraries in programming. Okay. A library in programming. A library is simply a program source code that have been written already either by the language developers, that's the people that developed the language, or another programmer. Okay. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? Just like a source code that have been written already, just like this program you're writing is also a program. It has been written already, either by the people that developed the program, that is this like this Java now, okay, or another programmer entirely can also write a library and decide to make it open for you to use. Okay. Now, library now are simply those external source code now that we bring in into our program to assist us do one or two things in our programs. Okay, that is some of the activities or some of the features or some of the tools we're going to be using in our program can be written as library. So we have to bring them inside our program for us to have access to use them. Okay. Okay. So now the library, in a nutshell, what I'm trying to say now is the library does not reside in your program. You have to do what they call import. Import the library into your program. Okay. And the J option pane or the scanner, whichever one we are going to be using, is not open on your program. It's not something that you can just use, just like the way we're using system.out or we're using string, or we just have access to public. We have to import it. Now, for us to import it, now we have two Java libraries. Two Java library. We have the Java standard library and we'll have the extended library. So what we're going to do after the package name, we can just say import. We use the import keyword to import anything we want to bring in into our program. Okay. Now you can see this. You see my cursor where my cursor is. You have libraries Are you seeing this here? Yes, it will be here when you start your program. Okay. Mm-hmm. So it's there. Okay. So now most of the things are coming from here. Okay. So we just say import. When we say import, okay, so anything that is within Java, okay, you can get it either from the Java standard library or the Java extended library. So if you want anything from Java, huh? No, 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 no. No, the library is always there. These are except if they are libraries that are written by another program, because I told you that it can be the within the program, or maybe another programmer can also write. Like me now, if I see something that people normally use in Java often and it's not there by default, I can create a program adding those features, and I can make it open for anybody that wants to use it to download and use into their program. You understand? But any of these library we're going to be using are Java libraries. So they are open, they must be there. Just that they will not be in your program. Anyone you want to use, you have to import it. Yes, whether you're using the scanner or you're using the job option. But that's why I said before I said imputing in Java is a little bit technical. You understand? So you have to import whatever you're using. Okay. So if we're using the job option pane, we're going to import it because it's not here by default. Okay. So the job option pane is in the Java extended library. So we say Java X. That is the Java extended. Okay. Like if I want to use the scanner now, the scanner is in Java. Let me just import the scanner too because we are going to also use it at the long run. Okay. So Java scanner is in the Java normal library. That is the standard library. So I'll just say Java dot. Now there's a package called util. All these things you're seeing now. When I say dot, all these things you're seeing now are different packages that are inside that Java standard library, depending on what you want to use on it. Okay. Now, what we want to, you can see SQL here. Now, that means if you want to make use of SQL, there are libraries, packages for it. You understand? But what we're using here is the utility library. Is this the last one, util? Okay. So inside the utility library, you can have different classes, as you can see. Okay, you can see different classes here. Okay, so anyone I want to use, I'll simply make reference to it. So among them, there is a class called scanner, as you can see. Okay, so if I want to use the scanner, this is how I import the scanner. Okay, from the Java standard library. But in the case of JOption pane, JOption pane is in the extended library. So it's not on the standard library. So I'll say Java extended, yeah, Java X, okay, dots, okay. These are also packages. There's a package called Swing, Swing, yes, okay. So on the Swing package, okay, on the Swing package, that is where you see the class J option pane, okay. So this is it. So I have imported the J option pane now. So before I will now have access to use it. Yeah. Mm, mm. uh That one day now. Though normally just because I'm teaching you, if not normally there's something I can do if I need it by default. If I just come here now, type J option pane, okay, I'll hold my control space. It will automatically import it. See, it has imported it. No, normally you're supposed to know what I did there now. You understand? You're supposed to understand what I did there. That's why I took time to first of all explain it. It depends. It depends. It depends. Yes, for instance now in this, if you watch, in this lab 3, it was in this lab 3 that I knew that you used J option pin in the last lab. That's why I requested from the lab 2. You understand? uh Like here now, the jobs campaign spawn a dialogue box, blah, blah, they are talking about jobs campaign. So sometimes in the question, they might tell you using the scanner class or using the job campaign class. You understand? Yes. But if they didn't specify the one to use, you use the one that you feel that you understand more, that you can work with. You understand? Mhm. Maybe you did take notes because yeah, I'm seeing them here in this your lab 3 now. You're using scanner. I think lab 1 is just talk. Lab 1 is just introduction. Yes. So in your lab 2 now, yes, as long as you are doing impute, as long as you are imputing. mm, exactly. Especially, yes, 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 anyone that you feel is okay to you. Okay. I imported the two here now. The only thing is the environment. Like for job champagne, job champagne is going to use a dialog box to attend to anything, whether input or output. But the scanner, we use the standard input and output. That is the system, like this system dot out. We also have what they call system dot in. The scanner is going to use the system dot in. That means it's going to use this environment here. That's what the scanner will use. This your output here that we have currently now. You understand me, Madam Joy? You understand her? Yeah, yeah. No, 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 no. It should be outside the class. Yes. Mm. That is the convention. Yes, it should not be. Yes. This package doesn't really matter to other programming. Okay, I think it didn't even matter here. Okay, it's giving me some issues here. Incorrect package. Okay, it matters in NetBean, but in other programming, it doesn't really matter. Okay. Mhm. So now, when I use the job champagne, if I'm to use the job champagne, this thing I'm doing here now is actually useless. Okay, let me just take the string out. Okay, that's the question I want to ask. Okay, mhm. So what I'll simply do instead, I will simply say name, just like what you did in your Python, is equal to input, right? You now put the question. Okay, But here now say equals J option pane. Remember Java is case sensitive, so option pane J O is capital letter, then the pane. mm, I don't know. I don't even know that S this tab. So okay. So now the major thing is you just be conversant with the case it plays. Okay. So when you say dots, okay, now we'll have different options in terms of the method that we can actually use inside the J option pane. Okay, but the one we're going to be using most times, we're going to be using show. We'll be using at a point we can use the confirm dialog, can use the input dialog. The one we're going to even use now is input dialog, but we'll have different dialog here, okay? But what we'll be using mostly, we'll be using this message dialog, show message dialog, to just print a message. Then we'll use input dialog to accept data from the user, okay? So we also use confirm dialog if we want to do something like, let's say, ask the user something like a question that the user will have to click on OK or cancel, something like that. Okay. Now, what we're going to use now currently, like I told you, there are a lot of things here. Okay. What we're going to be using is the input dialog. Okay. So the input dialog, we say J option pane dot show input dialog. So we'll now put the question inside the input dialog. Okay. The more you use it, the more you get used to it. Okay. That's why you write. Okay. What I'll do is this. When I say JO, I do control space. It will suggest J option pane for me. No, 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 no. You also have it on your this thing. If you do the same thing, you see it too. Even if I have not imported it, let me delete this import, for instance. Okay. JO. Even if I add P to it, okay, and I hold control space, it will suggest the J option pane for me there. So yes, yes. When I click on dots, then I'll say show capital I, you see the suggestion there, input dialog. Of course, when you know the difference between them, input dialog is to accept data from the user. Okay. So of course we want to accept data. So I just say input dialog. Okay, I just click enter, it will take it. Then I put the question and I end the statement. Okay. So on the input dialog, that is where I will now put the question. Okay. So this is going to show an input dialog for us. So the input dialog, anything we enter inside the input dialog will be assigned into the name variable. Okay. Do you understand me? Okay. The other madam will come. Ask. This is the convention in Java. This is how it's done in Java. Okay. Just see this whole thing now as your input statement in Python. Okay. Just like your input, assuming we are in Python now. Okay. If we're in Python, let me switch to Python. I'll just say name. equals impute. Okay, then I'll put what's your name here. That's all. Okay, so in this impute here now in Python is what we are referring to as show impute dialog here in Java. Okay, but the whole thing is still the same thing. It will still give you this one. I will give you an impute dialog. Okay, so the input dialog now, anything you enter into the input dialog will be assigned. This is an assignment operator now. Will be assigned into the name variable. Okay, so if, for instance, we want to print out the name, okay, let me just say we want to do system.out.print, okay, dot print or print line, okay, then we can print the name, for instance, name. Okay, so this is the output statement we've seen before now, right? We understand this one. So let's see how the program is going to work. So I will simply go and run the program. So when I click on run, you see the input dialog here. This is the dialog box. Are you seeing it? Are you seeing it? What's your name? This is the input. So any name I enter here, let's say I enter Destiny and I click OK, it's going to print Destiny for me here. Look at it here. Okay, you're not seeing it? Okay. Are we good? No, I didn't right click. I just click on this run. Just click on it. To say run. Yes. Okay, what you do, you do right click and say run file. Yes, it will still run. Okay. So is it? Okay. Don't worry, you will understand it. Just just have a positive mindset about it. You are going to enjoy it. Yes, I entered HT as the name. Okay. So now, if we don't want to use the system out, a standard output to print it, we can still use the option pane to print. Okay. Yes, I can say G option pane. Okay. Dot show. This time around, it will be show message dialog, not input dialog. That's why I said when you are using them, you understand them. Okay. The difference now is this one is show input dialog to accept data. Okay, you can't see the screen very well. I'm looking for where I can actually increase my font. Okay, you can see it, right? Okay, there should be a way of increasing this font size. No problem. Yes, I'm recording. So, uh, like I was saying, in the job option pane, the first one we used was the input dialog, which will accept the value from the user and assign it to this variable name. Okay, so here now we can just say show message instead of show input this time around. We just want to print out the message. Then we put the name with it. Okay. Now the first one here, we first of all use null here. Now this null we use here, you ignore it for now. Okay, you ignore it for now because mm, I'm trying to just see some things because if you're going to back to the lab 2, definitely you will see this CG option pane there. You understand me? hmm So if I stick to that system print now, when you're going through this, you might not ask what's this, what's this. Okay. So it's better we just try use them. Okay. So they use the option pane a lot, though like I told you, system.print is the standard one. So it's also good you understand it. Like this one now, you can see here J option page show input, J option page show input here, J option page show message dialog. Mhm, mhm. So, but it's simple. The only thing, the major thing, two things you're going to be using from J option pane is this input dialog and message dialog. Okay, those are the major two things you're going to be using. So you just have to know the two. Input is just when you want to accept input. Message dialog is just like the output. Okay. Hmm? Okay. I didn't get the question. I didn't get. Sorry. Yeah. Yes, we are trying to print the name now. This is what we are printing. Anything we're printing, like say we want to print welcome name now, we'll have to append the welcome here. But let's first of all print the name, just like what we have with the system.out.print. Okay, so when I run it, it's going to ask me what's my name. I'll simply give him my name. So when I click OK, it will just print out the name. So this is the message dialog. You see, the message dialog does not have any input on it. It's just to show a message. I understand. Ehen. So that is just, I just said you should leave the null for now, but you should know that the null is supposed to be the position where this dialog box will show up on. Okay, that's what the null is specifying there. Okay. Ehen. So uh, there are some cases where we need to, sorry, system is, there are some cases where we need to add something to this place to indicate where we want the message box to show up. But since we don't want to complicate things, we just say null. That means it's just like by default, should show anywhere. Okay. Mhm. So that is just it. So this is how we can use the J option pane to accept input, or uh, we can use the J option pane to accept input or print out output for the user to see. Okay. So in terms of printing out output now, there is something that I would like to talk about, which is called concatenation. Is it my network, or my network is fluctuating, right? Okay. I was talking about concatenation. My battery will soon go down. 40 minutes. Okay. Let's try to get the best out of it. What will happen is, I don't know if maybe tomorrow we can also have the class in case my system goes down now. Okay? Because my system will go off any moment from now. So, okay, concatenation. Okay, so is still in operators. Remember, I said the next class we're supposed to have is operators and their order of precedence. There's an operator called the concatenation operator. Concatenation. Okay, it's used to join two or more strings together or strings and variables. That means when you want to bring in a string literal and add it to a variable, you simply do what they call concatenate. You concatenate it. Okay. In Java, concatenation is done using the plus symbol. The, okay. So, like for instance, now I want to print good evening with the person that entered his or her name. I have to say good, okay, evening. Okay. So when I say good evening like this now, okay, I cannot just add the name to it like that. So I have to concatenate by using the plus symbol like this. You understand? So that is what you were seeing in those your labs. In those your labs, we are seeing some things. Which of the labs is it? That one that have a lot of things printed out. No, not really errors. Okay. That program we're looking at. Okay. The sum is concatenates the sum. The sum now is a variable that was declared. So for you to append it to this string literal here, you have to use the plus sign to concatenate. So that's what they are doing. So the whole thing will be printed out as one statement. You understand? So that is just it. So like what we have here now, good evening with name. So if I run the program again now and I say my name is let's just say let's use another name. Let's say my name is Uche and I click OK, it will say good evening, Uche. You see how it is? Good evening plus the name. Okay? Okay, the result is sweet. But the working okay. So that is just it. It's actually simple. The yeah. Mm, okay. So this is it. Okay. So now where the little issue might come in here is where we are adding something like an integer. Let's say we want to take the age of the person. The age can be integer, okay, or short. You were asking why we use short. So we can use short for it, okay. So let's say we want to accept the age of the user, okay. So after asking the person to enter his or her name, we'll also ask the person to enter age. So I'll simply say age as a variable, then I'll now say how old are you, or how old, or what is your age. Let's use how old are you. Okay. Okay. I can even concatenate the name with it. I can say name, concatenate, and now say comma, how old are you? Okay, it's very, very sweet. But the problem we're now having here now, if you watch from the hints, incompatible type, are you seeing it? Incompatible type require short but found string. Now, why is it finding string? Because is it option pane show input dialog. Anything the user enter always comes as a string. You understand? That is why I was looking for a program that will use string so that we use string first. Okay? Because if we are dealing with integer with the option pane, there are extra things we need to do for it to accommodate integer. Yes, it will still work. It's still okay. Yes, you still concatenate. I'm not really talking about that now. I'm talking about this guy. I'm talking about this age. It's not this name that is causing the error. It is this age. This age is declared as short, or let me use int. Okay, it's declared as int, but we are giving it a string because this thing is going to bring a string. You understand? So that is why we are having issues here now. Okay. Now, how you make it compatible is simply doing typecasting by saying integer, okay, integer, sorry, okay, dot pass pass int. Are you still with me? Okay. Now look at integer dot pass int. Now this integer dot pass int that I did here, okay, what I'm simply doing is I want to pass a string value, convert it to integer. Okay? Eh? Pass is kind of conversion. Yes. We're converting to int. So we'll now put that J option pane inside this. Okay, the J option pane will now come inside it. It's the same thing that happens in Python. Okay, like for instance, Python input uh, also returns string. So if I want to do age in Python, I want to do a number, I'll simply say age is equal to, okay, I'll now say int, okay, cover it inside the input, okay. So I'll now put the input, how old are you, okay. So you see how this is. So this int here now is simply converting anything that the input will bring into integer before passing it to this guy. You understand it? It's still the same thing. It's just that in Java the syntax is much. It's still the same thing. He said that another thing again you're going to know is some of this language, like Python for instance now, is people oriented. Kind of, yes, kind of considers the programmers who are writing the program more and made things easier, kind of looking at how people will use this program and write them. But when we talk of Java, Java came from the background of core programming languages because Java is a child of C++, while C++ is a child of C, and C sharp came from Java. C sharp is a child of Java. So their lineage, this is just like how things are done. Okay. Mhm. So, but Python looks like most modern programming language. Like if we're using maybe JavaScript or PHP or all these new programming language, you're not really going to find more stress too. Okay, but Java is a kind of in a kind of way is trying to make you realize that some of these things you're doing, they are very very important. Unlike unlike in Python, just as easy as it is, you might not really know, or you might not really see reasons to look deeply on what is going on here. You understand? Because this thing is just simple. You get? So you might not really understand what's going on here. You can just say, okay, maybe it's just syntax into this. Or when I just tell you that this is simply converting, you will not know the work involved in it. But Java is trying to tell you that that is not just simple converting, that there are some things involved in that. Okay? So Java is kind of explicitly telling you a lot of things that Python will just abstract and will not really go in details. You get? So at least with this thing you did in Java now, you'll be able to tell, or you'll be able to tell that, okay, yes, there's something called passing in Java. But that's what you did now, passing. Okay, you're simply passing, that is converting the string into an integer. Okay. hmm So if it's a float, something like a float now, for instance, right? I think you have double, okay, dot pass, okay. Okay, but it's the same thing now. Uh-huh. Okay. Uh-huh. It's the same thing now. Double dot pass double. Integer dot pass int. Okay. So this is it now. So if we print this program now, the more difficult is getting, the better result you get out of it. Yes, because let's say the name is Amara. Say it will now ask Amara, how old are you? Amara, how old are you? So when you now say Amara is 23, you can now say, okay, it's now a good evening, Amara. Okay. But what we want to do now, okay. So now let's say, good evening, Amara. Okay. You, okay, you are. We never even do rich assignment safe. We never do rich assignment. Okay. Now, okay. Using the job option pane. Okay. Using the job option pane, you're going to do something. Okay. Okay. No problem. Okay. So, okay. So we say good evening name. You are. Okay. We concatenate again with the age. Okay. Then we'll put another this thing old. Okay. So, mm, yes, of course, you have to know how to at least the average typing speed. You should have the average typing speed. Yeah, the major thing here, anything inside a quote will just stay the way it is. You understand? Yes. No, 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 no. What is inside a quote will not give you error. To just print the way it is. Yes. The only thing that will give you error is something like a variable name. Maybe you are misusing them. Anything outside the quotes. Like this one now, I concatenating because this is a string literal, this is a string literal. I have to concatenate from both end. You understand? So if I miss something like this now, that's where I'll now have error. The string. Yes, the string that maybe is not just any variable. It's something you are the one writing it. We call it a literal, or sometimes we call it a constant because you are the one that wrote it there. You know what it is. Yes. So we call it literal. Okay. If you still look up what is literal, they'll tell you they are constants that you as the programmer, you're the one that puts them there. They don't change. It's just according to how you did it. As I wrote good evening here now, that is how it will print. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. How many that's age oh dear. That's the age that you entered now. The age you entered. You enter the age, you enter the name. Let's run it and see the outcome. Okay. Let's say the name is Jude. Okay. Jude, how old are you? We say 12. And it prints this. Good evening, Jude. You're 12 years old. Yes. Yeah, if you want to add today, just to add it to the string. Just to add today here. That's all. Okay. So that is that. So this is working with job champagne. So the next thing we're going to be looking at is working with, okay, to variables and variables. Doesn't matter whether it's an integer or string. It doesn't matter whether it's an integer or a string or whether a double. As long as it's a variable, you concatenate strings, that's this strings literal, to variables. It doesn't matter the data type. Like for instance, now this our name is a string data type. Age, they are two different things now. Concatenation is on its own. Concatenation doesn't really know if it doesn't really okay, let's just say I want to print this thing with the system standard output too. I'll still do the same thing. So the concatenation have nothing to do with the job champagne. Please. Job champagne is simply the input and output channel we are using. Yes. Okay. So assuming I'm using the normal print print line now, for instance, I'll still do the same thing there. I think my system will not be enough for it. Okay. So you see how it is now. Still on the system.out. So if I do this thing now, I'll have two outputs there now. One will be printing on the job champagne, while the other one will be printing on the standard output. Okay. So let's say Destiny is 12 years. Okay. So we have the job champagne here. Okay. Good evening, Destiny. You're 12 years old. So immediately I click OK. You also see the results here at the standard distance. Okay. Mhm. So that's just it. So using job champagne is simply a channel through which we can input and output data. Okay. So that same thing we're going to do with the scanner tomorrow. The scanner will use it to impute data. Okay, but in the scanner there are extra things we need to do. Not just it's not just only importing it. Okay, we have to do what they call instantiation on it too before we can make use of it. Yes. Okay. Okay. So the assignment will be the assignment